What new Masters of the Universe Origins figures lay hidden in plain sight on the Mattel Creations Camo Khan card art? Let's find out in part one of our special figure card art series. And before we dive into the episode, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you can be alerted to the latest reviews, news, and episodes when they drop. Hey everyone, welcome back to Toy Habits. I'm Michael, and with me is my collector in crime, Larry. Now, Camo Khan was revealed at SDCC 2022 as a Mattel Creations exclusive, and for this series, we are focusing on the card art figure teases, and to say that there are a lot of teases is an understatement.
It really is. This thing's pretty amazing as far as like the just the number of characters shown. I mean, this it feels like it should be a poster.
Oh,
I
that'd
mean,
be awesome.
yeah, if this was released as a poster, I would consider buying it and putting it up on the wall. I mean, it has such a like a great like array of colors and characters, and it's just a cool setup, and those freaking snake eyes out there. It's just a really cool scene, and I think it'd make it for a cool poster. But all that aside.
Yeah, no, it totally would. And during SDCC, we saw the Eternia playset revealed, but more importantly, they've sprinkled figures that either have previously been announced, and we got confirmation of some of the figure and vehicle leaks we were hoping that would come make it into the line.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's several figures that we were hoping would get announced, and I think seeing them in Eternia pretty much makes it a lock. It's just a matter of how long it'll take. We've seen some of this stuff show up, and then it takes a year or even more before we actually get to them. Looking at you, mini comic trap jaw.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was cool. It was cool to see some of these shown in figure form, and get an idea that they're at least headed our way.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting the way that they did these types of reveals. It's like they haven't really officially announced the Road Ripper and Mechanic, and they haven't officially announced Tongue Lasher either, but they were there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, to me, there's no reason to put them in there if they're not a thing. And
Yeah.
we've heard rumors that they're going to be a thing. We've talked about it for a while. So I
Yeah.
think that it's pretty much a guarantee that we're going to see these. But I, for one, am still holding out hope that we get single carded Mechanic.
Yep.
But we won't spend a bunch of time on that.
And the card art teases are aplenty, and this is part one in a series. So if we don't cover anything in this episode that you see in the card art, we will circle back to it and follow up in a later episode. So let's kick things off with Squeeze. And he was recently teased now in two places: the Camo Khan card art, which we're focusing on today, and the back of the Snake Armor He-Man card art.
Yeah, it's cool to see Squeeze. He's a pretty cool character. I didn't have any of the Snake Men as a kid, so I'm excited to get any of these guys. But I think Squeeze was a fun one. I had the NECA made the Staction, right? Was that Squeeze?
Yep.
So I had that, and it was an awesome mini statue. But I think it'll be really exciting for the actually get a Origins release for him.
Yeah, he's such a unique figure and in the vintage line, and I love that the later figures that were released were using those new sculpts and just new techniques for action features because he's got those cool bendy arms.
Yeah, and this is one for me that's I don't really know what I want from him as far as a release. Do I want bendy arms? Do I want a set of I don't know if I mean your kids are older, so you don't have a lot of like Mr. Potato Head stuff in your
Right.
house probably, right? But
No.
but they've got, the Mr. Potato Head comes with long arms and
Yeah.
stuff, and so I'm thinking, you could just do these as just actual just super long arms. He'd probably have to be in deluxe packaging, I would guess.
Well, I mean, they did stuff them into the single carded packaging back in the day, so maybe they would do that. But if they went with your idea around like the Mr. Potato Head style, yeah, I think they would have to do a deluxe packaging because I'd actually like to see also like some standard arms come with this too. Like maybe he
I
would
would too.
come with a set of standard arms and then his set of bendy arms.
Yeah, I would too, because like thinking about like positioning him on a shelf, he's gonna take up so much space, and to me, you're gonna have he's gonna be like front heavy, and I'm gonna have that worry about him tipping off the shelf and things like that. So I would hope for an extra set of arms for this guy. I think it's a cool way for them to kind of add some different options for him that we haven't seen before. See him as kind of a standard body type, I guess.
Yeah, because it's interesting because they are introducing that with King Hiss that we saw in the
Mhm.
SDCC 2022 panel reveal. It's like they are not afraid to make some updates and actually make some really cool adjustments to some of the vintage figures.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the team that they have in charge of making these decisions has done a great job of looking. I guess for the most part, I think that there's been a couple bad decisions, like the coloring for Whiplash,
Yeah.
or not Whiplash, sorry, Web Store.
Uh-huh.
But I think that for the most part, anytime that they've seen something that's like, you know what, this really wasn't perfect the way it was before. It's we want to kind of stick with that vintage feel, but maybe make some updates here and there where we can. I think for Leech, like including just the standard Leech head,
Yeah.
that's a good extra thing to do. They've still got kind of that vintage look with the standard head, but then you've got the updated with just a regular Leech head too. And I think doing something like that with Squeeze would be a good opportunity to kind of update him. I think you got to have the bendy arms, and
Yeah.
it'd be cool if they're also swappable because putting those bendy arms on He-Man or Skeletor as a kid, that's a lot of fun,
Oh, that would be
messing around
fun.
with stuff like that. And I think the bendy arms or the longer set of arms would be cool to be able to swap out. So
Yeah, I like that idea. And moving on to one of my personal favorites, I would love to see in the line is Snakeface. And he is now teased on in a couple places like Squeeze. He's teased on the Camo Khan card art and the Snake Armor He-Man card art as well.
and I think the vintage figure for Snakeface is pretty cool, but I do think that the release they did for the Jake the Snake Roberts figure
Oh yeah.
in the Masters of the WWE Eternia, that that figure had some cool elements to kind of like the snake skin that I think is what I would like to see for Snakeface. I think there's some cool stuff they can do coloring wise with his kind of with his snake, like the snake parts of him. I think there's some cool stuff they can do there.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, I think Snakeface is another one that would look amazing on card. So it's, they used updated Snake Men logos for this one. So it's kind of bringing it into 2022 design. And, I think this is another great figure, great color palette overall. That would be really awesome to see on a card back like this.
Yeah, yeah, he looks awesome on the card. Just so many colors going on. You've got just a lot of different kind of contrast and stuff like that. I think it looks really cool. And then the back, the card art on the back is really cool too. And it'll be fun to see. Hopefully, Axel Jimenez does kind of like a refresh on that, and you get that extra like bright pops of color that he's kind of been adding to these and kind of updating it while still keeping the same image.
Oh yeah, I would love to see if there is actually another figure that's teased because I think who is it, Clamp Champ, that he's turned into stone there, and so he's made already. So let's see another figure turned into stone.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think maybe he could throw somebody else either in the background or something like that. Where you can still keep Clamp Champ in there. I mean, you could swap him out probably for maybe Rio Blast or
Yeah,
somebody else. Another hero that we don't have yet. But yeah, I think you could do it in the background or you could swap out Clamp Champ. Either way.
totally. And just with respect to the figures, this is one of my favorite vintage designs for a Motu character. It had a really awesome action figure that you can make the snakes come out of his eyes, his mouth, and his shoulders with a lever on the back.
Yeah, and I wonder, mechanics wise, could they do something similar to what they did with Mantena? Where you just have that kind of push out
Oh yeah.
effect to it. I don't know. I can't decide like space wise if there's any good way to kind of set all that up, but maybe you end up with a similar effect. Because I guess thinking about Mantena before, we kind of thought he might have like some pop out eyeballs that you would attach or
Yeah.
something. But they managed to make that work. So maybe they can do the same kind of thing for Snakeface, and you still get the cool snakes coming out of the eyes and the mouth and all that.
Yeah, it's kind of like how they handled the classics version because the classics version didn't have an action feature. You just kind of
Yep.
plug the snakes into his head and into his body. So, yeah, it's definitely possible. And then they did make that lever on the back of Mantena's head in the Origins line. And so maybe they can move that lever and kind of that action feature up into his head.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, so maybe, yeah, maybe you end up with like attachable snakes at the shoulders, and maybe you just get the eyes, and maybe the mouth. I don't know. I can't decide out like, you know, actual like functioning control wise if that
Yeah.
would work. But maybe we'll see what they come up with. They've been good at this stuff so far.
Yeah, I like your idea about the Jake the Snake Roberts MOTU
It's
WWE
that
Universe figure. Yeah, because that,
kind of snake scale
oh yeah,
look. I think would be just a cool extra thing that you wouldn't have to change up the look of the figure too much, but that might be a cool kind of different wash that they could put on there to kind of give him a little bit more detail too.
oh definitely. And one of the cooler aspects of this card art that we're seeing, these previously unreleased figures in the vintage line, like there are new Snake Men that could be possibly coming down the line here.
Yeah, I think they've, if you're gonna do this line, to me, it's a perfect opportunity to release some of these characters that we've seen, for the last several years. Whether it's in classics or just different figure designs people have come up with. But some of these have actually been released in the classics line before, and I think seeing them in Origins would be awesome. Um, just because a lot of that stuff is hard to come by, and it's pretty expensive on the
Oh
secondary
yeah.
market. So I think seeing these in Origins also would be cool, just because you've got the card art aspect of it, seeing the actual art that they come up with like this,
Yeah.
um, and just seeing it in kind of that vintage figure, I guess, concept. I guess just seeing kind of how they translate into that vintage look.
Yeah. Definitely. And from the right, we have Lord Grasp, we have Reptilax, Terror, and what we think might be Lady Slither.
Yeah, she's probably the one I feel the least sure of. I think I feel pretty good about it. I'm just not sure. Does she feel like a character that would be kind of holding on to King Hiss's leg? To me, she feels like somebody that would kind of want to challenge King Hiss a little bit more than that. But
Oh, yeah.
but it's also art. So I think that sometimes stuff is just set up kind of like that in art, and there's a lot of different ways you can play out the character relationships and things. So. Yeah, I think it's probably Lady Slither though.
Yeah, the old adage, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. So maybe that's leading up to, maybe her card art reveal, if they actually make a figure, is her overthrowing King Hiss.
Yeah, you never know. A lot of cool stuff could happen. And I think that releasing characters like this helps to kind of extend that Snake Man line beyond just what are there 8 to 10 kind of Snake Men figures, maybe 12 if you figure like all the different Snake Men, and then like a He-Man and a Skeletor variant. Maybe you end up with another variant or two. But I
Yeah.
think I think they could do a lot of cool stuff with this, even beyond the stuff we're talking about today. I think there's other figures they could do as well.
Oh,
So.
definitely. All right, let's start off with Terror, and he's actually one of my favorite Motu Classics figures, and he's made up a mashup of parts of other figures, which actually makes it really easy for Mattel to actually make these figures now if they wanted to go down this line, because I think they have most of the parts already.
Yeah. Then that's the good part is they've already got all this stuff made. You've got that if they're already working on Mechanic, you probably got an idea for what they would do for kind of the longer neck piece. You've already got the trap jaw accessories and things. So a lot, yeah, like you say, a lot of this stuff is already kind of in place design wise. So you just have to do a different color run, and you've got some of these parts ready to go, and he'd make a cool release.
Oh, he would. And I'm wondering actually if they're actually have made this or are making this right now because they've already cooked up Whiplash, which we think is coming out in September of this
Yep.
year. And so maybe, yeah, maybe they've cooked him up and are holding him back for whenever they release him.
Yeah, it could very well be. I mean, you figure going through all the different runs of this, like his arm, of course, has the extra paint apps. But if they've just done the mini comic trap job run, maybe did this at the same time. I don't know if I feel like that when they did the original trap jaw release, I don't know if they were thinking forward enough to think on a character like this, but maybe with just doing mini comic Trapjaw, and hey, maybe that's a reason for the delay on that. Maybe trying to get all their ducks in a row on the Snakeman line and decide how far they want to go with it. Maybe that was why that was pushed back, so that they could also do a run of extra paint app for Terror here.
Oh yeah. Definitely. And another, yeah, I think that's a great idea. And I think that could be totally in the realm of possibility too.
Yeah.
All right. And another mashup of figures we could see is Lord Grasp. And I think what's cool about this design, it's again, it's a mashup of figures, but it looks like a totally brand new design. And again, if Squeeze is being teased in the card art, he definitely uses Squeeze's head. So maybe this is another one that they're cooking up at the same time.
Yeah, this one he's cool because he's got a lot of kind of extra paint detail here and there, and I think that's what's cool about him. And he looks like a vintage figure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He just has that look of something they would have done in the 80s. Um, when they kind of got to the Snake Men line. So I think that he would be an awesome release, and it'd be cool to see him, added to the Snake Men ranks.
Oh, totally. Yeah, and I think I say this a lot, but again, this is one of my other one of my other favorite classics figures too, because I love how they just kind of mashed up Clawful and Squeeze, and then just took Scareglow's cape and just made this a cool design.
Yeah, it's got a lot of pieces from other figures, and I think yeah, you could pretty much just I don't think they have to make anything else. I think they've got all the stuff.
Yeah.
Like you say, as long as they've got Squeeze coming down the line, I think everything's there.
Yes, and one other figure that would be amazing to see in the line is a holdover from the classics line that was unreleased, but Axel Jimenez drew this up, so it would actually be really cool to see Reptilax. And I guess with this tease has been around since the 80s, since he appeared in the mini comic King of the Snake Man.
Yeah, yeah, this would be a really cool one to see. I think his that axe that he would come with is a really cool kind of new design.
Oh yeah.
The sword looks awesome. I love the kind of the extra paint detailing that he did on the shield. And I think this is a cool figure. I think he's got a weird look about him because he almost has like a human body appearance, but with all these extra like the different head design and the tail and kind of the clawed fingers and just a lot of different kind of elements to him. And I think that would be make for a really cool figure release.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I like the way that they did his armor. And usually, they kind of sometimes would fully clad the chest in armor, but it looks like, they're leaving that up at the top with some straps. So it's a really kind of unique design from an armor standpoint, too.
It is, yeah. I think you could probably do a, like existing character buck but yeah, and then do some extra, paint wash on it to give it either a scaled look or some extra definition in the muscles, kind of like what he has, where it looks more reptile like,
Yeah.
and I think that's what I would want to see as far as a direction. I don't want to see like a just a flat colored body. I would like it if this was more of like not like the 40th anniversary He-Man, but something similar to that, where you just get some extra wash in
Huh?
there, so you don't lose that. You can kind of try to capture the reptile look more than just painting it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think this would be an interesting figure because if this was supposed to come out in classics, it'd actually be neat to see what this would look like in an Origins book.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's cool because classics was a way that they were able to bring to life stuff that was kind of previewed in the 80s. And there were some figures like this that they just didn't get to. And it's cool that they're able to continue on with that kind of theme of, hey, there are still additional things that we didn't get to before, and we're trying to get to them now. And so it's almost like you had the classics look that tried to capture that look from the 80s, but in classics form, and now you're going to go to back to that vintage based on a classics
Yeah,
kind of concept. So it's a cool kind of translation for it.
yeah, it works both ways. And
Yep.
next up is the one that we think could be Lady Slither, but who knows? But I think, it would be amazing to see her in her snake form. And I think we also have her human form coming up as well, but she would be awesome.
She really would. I think we've talked about Lady Slither before, and she's a really cool concept. And yeah, I think she would be awesome in origin form. And really, I feel like she would need to be deluxe just
Yeah.
because of the tail and everything. I think it'd be hard to get all that in any kind of standard packaging. I think deluxe would be hard enough. But but yeah, I think deluxe might be able to make it happen.
Oh yeah, and because then you can have some options too. Like, in the card art, she's teased in her human form, and so you could actually fit that extra snake piece in there as a deluxe figure, and actually have her human form in there as well. I'm sure that she'll probably use the standard female buck for her body.
Yeah, yeah, I would think so. And so there again, they've already got some of the parts available. Probably not a whole lot of stuff you have to do as far as the body. Maybe it's a new head sculpt, maybe some different paint apps. I like that. I like the touch of gray, like at the for the fur on her boots. I think that's a really cool kind of look there. And then the blue cape with a little bit of detailing around the neck and on the shoulders. So yeah, I think a lot of different things going on, and then for the armor, you've got those snake fangs and
Oh
just a
yeah.
super cool figure design. So yeah, I think she'd be an awesome one to get.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I would want them to do like a very good job and kind of model some of the customs that we're showing off here because
Yep.
there's a lot of detail in here, and she'd be really, really cool just to add to the storyline in general.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think it'll be fun to see kind of the mini comics that are included don't come up with a lot of stuff, but they're at least telling a story and getting them out in kind of a comic form. So I think it's still fun.
Yes, and there are some other Snake Men concepts that we've seen from the classics line that would be amazing to see in Origin style too.
Yeah, I think these like just the general snake minions, they did these in classics as part of a PowerCon set, right?
Yep.
And so yeah, I think this is a way to kind of get just a couple more kind of snake themed, characters out there. It's really just one basic figure design with a couple different head sculpts. So I think these would be fun. People might army build them or whatever. So there's a lot of opportunity for extra sales here.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I don't think Mattel would pass those up, right?
You wouldn't think so.
No, and it's kind of cool because I just noticed this too. I wasn't really paying attention closely to like the chest design, but there's a horde symbol on there
Yeah,
too, so it kind of mixes in both of the factions.
yeah, yeah, it does, and I think that's a kind of a cool thing. They could stick with that, and yeah, it's a way to kind of transition from the horde into the snake men too, and you can kind of, I mean, you could also probably come up with some kind of a different horde kind of minion maybe, and include another head sculpt in there as well.
Yeah, because I think too, like this one looks like it's also a mashup of parts too, because they're using the horde trooper armor here.
Yeah, yeah, and there's a lot of opportunity for part reuse through almost all of these figures.
Totally. And we cannot close out this particular episode without mentioning probably the figure that comes up the most in our YouTube comments, which is Boss Man. We know that he's been teased a lot.
I thought you were gonna say Mighty Spectre, but I
Yeah,
guess we'll go with Moss Man.
we can go with that, right? But yeah, Moss Man is one of the figures that is, without a doubt, the one that comes up all the time, and it actually came up in a video that we did earlier. So it was like one of the second comments that came up is like, "Hey, these figures are cool, but what about Mossman?"
Yeah, yeah, everybody wants Moss Man. And I think that at some point they've got to hold a few of these guys back. And I know everybody is excited to get him, but at some point, whoever's in this slot is going to be the one that's requested. If we hadn't gotten many faces, then it would
Right.
be him. So I think it's only natural that people are excited to get him and asking for him. And I think it'll be cool to add him to the shelf. He's a really cool character. It'll be interesting to see whether we get him, in flocked form. Is he going to have the pine smell? I
Yeah.
mean, is it just going to be a standard? Are they going to do double release, or what are they going to do with this guy? So
Yeah. Hopefully they do the smell a little better than Stinkor. So, hopefully they'll have to pour on that pine sol or pine scent.
yeah, they got to do something. I think there's got to be a better way to accomplish that, and I hope they come up with a different idea for the next one. So
Yeah, and I like the idea of just having, you can have it in flock form or non-flock form, and it's like, we've had Beastman since Wave 2, and
yeah.
so that'd be an easy one to do without flocking.
Yeah, my concern, of course, is that the flocked one will be a Walmart exclusive or
Oh
a
no,
Mattel Creations
right?
exclusive or whatever, and he'll be super hard to get. But Well, I guess that remains to be seen, so we won't get too worked up on that yet.
Yeah, not yet, at least until the proof is in the pudding. So, but I
Yep.
wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. But I think that there are a ton of figures shown in this, and I think I feel like based on the art, it feels like their plan is to do the Snake Men and a Powers of Grayskull line as well.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're not going to be combined. I feel like it's kind of like waves almost, or years. Like maybe this year, kind of because last year was kind of focused on the Horde.
Yeah.
And I think that so maybe we're going to transition over to Snake Men, and then maybe they'll go Powers of Grayskull next. So
That would be amazing because that line was originally slotted for 1988. So,
yep.
I would love to see that line built out in Origin style, and I'm sure the folks watching would love that too.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a lot of cool characters that are left open for that one. So
Yes, and that does it for our part one of our card art series. Also, stay tuned for part two, and we'll focus more on potential figure releases hidden in plain sight. So, if you have a favorite character that you've seen from this list, let us know in the comments below. I'm Michael,
and I'm Larry.
and thanks for tuning into Toy Habits.